Okay, so hopefully this won't happen again. Hey guys, Gary Gamer Chavez to another brand new video of reacting, blah blah blah. I really don't want to restart everything, but I feel like I have to. Because for some reason, there was nothing but staticky noises in my first try to record this perfectly. So you know what, I'm going to try to reenact everything I did and all that stuff in order to make up for the spritzy stuff that happened last time.
Don't be afraid, Uncle Matt's here to tell you a bedtime story.
And that's how you set the tone for a video. So creepypastas have become incredibly popular in recent years. A creepypasta is an urban legend or scary story that circulates around the internet. It's essentially like a scary campfire story before the digital age. And just like traditional urban legends, most people write these off as ghost stories, simply the product of a creative mind. But there will always be those out there who ask, what if it really happened? So because I've been reading creepypastas so much lately, I figured I would gather the freakiest ones to share with you all. So here they are, the 10 freakiest creepypastas ever told.
Are the best ones.
Oh, and if you're watching this at night, you may want to rethink your choice.
I don't
Just
rethink
saying.
it.
Number one is 1999.
I don't regret.
This story, simply known as 1999, is about a Canadian blogger named Elliot who decides to investigate a low-budget TV show that he used to watch in 1999 that only aired for a few episodes. One episode, called Playing with Scissors, featured live-action hands on a table. The episode immediately turned dark as one of the hands repeatedly stabbed a smaller hand with a pair of scissors, while a muffled child scream could be heard in the background. The next episode, called Mr. Bear's Cellar, featured a mentally unstable man who dressed up as a character called Mr. Bear and did things so disturbing that I can't even mention them here. Eventually, police investigated and shut down the sadistic show, but by that time the damage had been done to anyone who saw the morbid episodes. See that? We're starting the episode on a positive note. Number 2 is the Rake. In 2006, a team of researchers unearthed nearly 24 documents dating from the 12th century to the present day, describing a creature known only as the Rake. They were filled with various people's encounters with this creature. One couple described their encounter as follows. The couple awoke in the middle of the night to discover sitting at the foot of their bed, facing away from them, a creature that looked like a half-human, half-big hairless dog. The creature suddenly sprang up, crouched in front of the husband's face, and sprung towards their children's bedrooms. The couple immediately ran after it, but by then it was too late. The couple found their daughter mutilated and close to death, with her final words being, "He is the Rake." Remember that one when you go to bed tonight. Number 3 is Where the Bad Kids Go. A photographer decided to research an old children's show that he used to watch as a child in wartime Lebanon. The half-hour show relied on graphic imagery and scare tactics to keep kids from misbehaving. The closing scene of every episode featured a slow zoom towards an old rusted iron door, and as it got closer, screams could be heard coming from the other side as the text, "That's where the bad kids go," popped up in Arabic. The photographer was able to find the studio where the old show was filmed, and despite being abandoned for a long time, was actually able to find the famous old rusted door, but he was not prepared for what was on the other side. Upon entering the door, he discovered an empty room covered in blood.
You know, that looks kind of like the workhouse that you fight Jack in Resident Evil 7, like where I was. That looks like the place where you fight Jack with the chainsaw dueling in. Like the old bloody workshop kind of place. It almost looks like that. Literally.
And bones with a caged microphone hanging from the middle of the room. Yep, just one more reason to do what your parents say, kiddies. Number 4 is The Other Watcher. There was once a man who checked into a hotel for a few nights. After getting his key from the woman at the front desk, she mentioned that he'll be passing a room with no number and that he should not try to enter the room or even look inside. By the second night, the man was so intrigued that he decided to look through the keyhole of the room. What he found was a very pale woman in an empty room standing in the corner. That night, he returned to his room, but on the third night, he decided to look through the keyhole again, but this time all he saw was the color red. Nothing else, just a constant deep shade of red. He then returned to the front desk where the woman asked if he had looked through the keyhole. The man admitted that he did, and the woman sighed, saying that many years ago a man murdered his wife in that very room and that her ghost now haunts it. Her ghost is said to be very pale except for her eyes, which are bloodshot red. Yeah. Number 5 is the SCP Foundation. The Secure, Contain, and Protect Foundation
I wonder if
first
this place
appeared
is
in
actually
2007
real.
and is made up of numerous doctors, researchers, and agents. Their goal is to
I'm
understand and
thinking it
catalog
is,
abnormal creatures and
maybe,
objects known as
but still.
SCPs. The SCP website
I
describes the
wonder how
discovery of many
many
disturbing
real
creatures,
weird
including
creatures
one
they have in
creature
it.
known as the SCP-173, or the Sculpture. It's a statue-like creature that has a bloody face and short limbs that must be constantly observed, or it will immediately kill its victim by breaking its neck as soon as eye contact is broken. There are several articles and videos on the internet about the SCP and its creatures, including the Sculpture, but you should only check them out if you're constipated, because you gonna crap your pants. Number 6 is Jeff the Killer. Jeff was a little boy that moved into a new home with his family. One day, 3 teenagers attacked Jeff and his brother, but Jeff defeated them, leaving them in the street with broken wrists and knife wounds. Unfortunately, that encounter made Jeff realize that he enjoyed inflicting pain on others. One night, soon after, Jeff's mother heard crying coming from the bathroom of their house. When she entered the room, she found Jeff carving a permanent smile into his cheeks. He had also cut off his eyelids so that he could avoid sleep. His final words to his mother were, "Mummy, you lied," after which he murdered his entire family and disappeared into the night. Jeff...
It's pretty crazy that, like, literally, you wouldn't care about the pain if you feel it, probably, and literally just cut out your face and just get a huge permanent smile on your face, and you even cut out, like, if you're keeping your eyes peeled up or something like that, but you peel it out with a knife probably, and just cut out your eyelids. And yet, I even hear that, like, he's literally got no eye colors either, and all kinds of stuff. And yet, they even say that, like, he's super fast, and yet super stamina. He's got so much stamina, and yet he's very stubborn and painstaking. This means, like, I heard of people could literally just shoot him with very powerful guns, and like, you'd say you could take a Desert Eagle, shoot him in the kneecaps 10 times, and I hear he'll still be, even if it means he has to crawl for you, he will still be coming for you. Like, you literally have to take him down with all your might. He's super fast, and yet they say he even is capable of taking on Slenderman.
Was never seen again, but as legend
Sorry
has
to keep
it,
pausing
he's still
it and
out
stuff,
there
by the way.
looking for his next victim. You may want to look behind you.
I always do.
Number 7 is Wake Up. In the past, it's been reported that some victims of torture during
I hope the wire isn't spritzing out for you.
into a fantasy world from which they could not wake up. In this catatonic state, the victim lived in a world just like the normal one, except they weren't being tortured. The only way that they realized that they needed to wake up was a note that they found in their fantasy world. It would tell them about their condition and tell them to wake up. Even then, it would often take months until they were ready to discard their fantasy world and wake up. I'll let you think about that one. Number 8 is Slenderman. The Slenderman is a mythical ghoul often depicted as a tall, thin figure wearing a black suit and a blank face. The creature can cause insomnia, paranoia, and memory loss, and is known to distort photographs and video. It's known for killing children almost exclusively, and if you ever see him, it's already too late. It's rumored to have been alive for centuries and even has mythology dating back to Roman times. There are several popular games that have risen based on the Slenderman story, including Slender, the 8 Pages. Feel free to play it at night with the lights off because a Slendy reaction video is always priceless.
But yeah, anyway, I heard from other stories that, like, whenever he's near technology, like, all technology just busts and shuts down and just goes out. Like, from cars to anything that's technology based that goes near him will just shut down. And I also hear that he completely kills adults and captures kids. And I heard that it was for, like, a few bits of protection, and so that probably not protection, but still. And, like, saying that you shouldn't be in his forest no matter what, and if you go to his forest, he either kill you or capture you. Always look behind you. No matter what, even if you're not watching creepypasta stories, and yet, like I said, in my first try to make this video right, there was too much spritzing. I knew you wouldn't like all the spritzing. And, I'm phobic about keeping doors shut always behind me. I don't even allow people to walk behind me unless if I know they're there or I allow them to and stuff. I just don't like being snuck up from behind.
Number 9 is Robert the Doll. Robert the Doll is a
Reminds me
real-life
of the
doll that
new
many say
creepy
is
doll
cursed.
movie.
The doll was given to artist Robert Eugene Otto in the late 1800s by a servant working in his family's home. The doll, which he named after himself, took on a life of its own and terrorized his family. Disturbingly, Robert kept the doll into adulthood and it terrorized his wife, leading her to insanity. The doll now resides in the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. As rumor has it, visitors must ask Robert politely if they want to take his photo. If they take his photo without permission or mock him in any way, Robert is said to lay a curse on that person. And I have no idea how far this doll's reach is, so I'm just going to say I respect this doll and he is awesome. Moving on. And number 10, Ben Drowned. This story is about a supposedly haunted copy of the game The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. A young man received a suspicious-looking Majora's Mask cartridge from an old man, and upon playing it, noticed that there was a saved file named Ben. Upon playing that saved file, all kinds of weird things started happening, including the text in the game displaying incorrectly, and the music started playing backwards. The game continued to do all kinds of really bizarre things that alluded to a boy named Ben that drowned that was now communicating through the game. The game even started displaying bizarre messages like, "You shouldn't have done that," "Ben is getting lonely," and "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" After he started to get really freaked out, this guy recorded the gameplay, and all of the footage is on YouTube. But I warn you, the footage is really freaky and really bizarre, so if you watch it, it may just ruin all the good memories you had of that game, so yeah, enjoy.
I don't play Nintendo Switch games,
if you'd like to read the full gruesome version
luckily
of these
that
stories,
ain't me.
or discover new creepypastas, I'll put some links in the description that you can check out. If you enjoyed this video, please share it on Facebook and Twitter, and give that like button a click, and I will see you all back here next Saturday with a brand new video. Peace.
Goodbye.
This episode freaked me right out.
Behind you! Behind you! Always look behind you, man! No matter what, look behind you! Behind you, man! Always look behind you, no matter what. Because, you know, I mean, I don't want to make you feel phobic and everything else wise, but, you know. I hope that the wire ain't spritzing and making it loud and stuff, but let's see you in the next one. Another ad. Another ad. Are you serial?
It's that time once again, friends. Uncle Matt's going to...
Internet lore that are discussed both...
Hold on. Hold on. I want to get that thing for the thumbnail. Oh, and there was my old save of the video that I tried to make, but I'm trying to make it where it doesn't spritz out and make weird noises. What is that? Ugh. That's a gross creature, whatever it is. Is this a collab with somebody that you know, Matt? Oh, by the way,
creepypastas, scary stories
the
that spread
channel
across
of
websites,
theirs, by the way,
social media,
Matthew
and message
Santorio,
boards, becoming internet
their
lore that
creepypasta
are discussed both
place.
on and offline. The product of some scary storyteller's imagination? Perhaps, but a lot of the time, that doesn't make it any less scary. These stories kept me up at night, and they might just have the same effect on you.
So if you're a night sleeper, I'll warn you to proceed with caution.
Well, when you're listening very clearly, there is no caution.
Ever told, Part 2. Number 1 is a Nasty's Goatman story. This
I think I
story
might have
tells
heard
of
of
a
some
group
of the
11
things about the
teenagers
Goatman, or at least I've
who
seen
spend the
people
night
play
in a
the
trailer
games
out in
of the
the
creepypasta
Alabama
games of
woods.
Goatman.
They're having fun until a nasty smell fills the campsite, like cooking blood and singed hair. They try to make the best of their camping experience, but later, when they all come together for dinner, the food is portioned out to feed 12. One more.
Sorry to keep pausing it, by the way, or, you know, but I have a story that I want to tell, and I hope you guys like it, if you like creepy things. I heard of a story, not from Creepypasta family, not from the Creepypasta family of stories, but still. There is this creature called the Wendigo. I'm not sure if you heard about this stuff, but if it's new to you, I hope you love it. And there was this creature, this humanoid-like creature, heard that has irascible hunger for human flesh and blood. And no matter how much they eat of it, even if it means eating a whole family of them, their hunger remains the same. And yet, it looks on their beings to be like so skinny that their skin is literally tearing apart of the tightness of the skinniness that is going to their hungry bodies. Like, guts literally start to hang out of the torn holes in their skin, and yet it literally looks like that even their face is getting the same results, and their teeth is literally tearing apart their pressed tight lips up on their face. And yet it could even, I heard it could even possess people too. Like, it could either eat you alive and kill you, or it could even possess you, or you become one too, like a zombie, but a lot more legend-based. And there was a few victims of the Wendigo, these people believe. Like, this one person, they literally say that it could literally even turn back into a person again, and then it could even be upon a crowd of people. It could even be right next to you and you don't know it. And this person, this man, was on a bus, and he was right next to this kid from across the other seat, and he took out a knife, lunged and jumped on the kid, stabbed him a dozen times, and literally started eating away on him. And then the bus driver looked in the back and was dramatized by what he saw. He was eating the kid away. There was, all this blood was just shedding across the floor of the bus. And then there's this other person that was possessed by him, and then he literally was forced and ate his entire family, and then was hanged for what he did and stuff too. And I'm like, that is one crazy creature. If I ever saw that thing, I would put that thing out of its existence before it does anything else-wise. Okay, now let's continue the Goatman story.
More than the group
and
that
the
they
rest of
actually
them
came
for the
with.
day.
Quickly, they realize that someone else has joined their group. What they didn't know is that those woods were filled with Goatmen, shape-shifting beasts of Native American legend. From that point on, the young kids never knew if it was their friends they were speaking to, or something else.
Number 2 is Honora Petrova. Honora Petrova was one of the most promising figure skaters in the United States until she came across the Wikipedia page made in her name. Oddly enough, instead of just reporting on what she had done, it also predicted her wins prior to her competitions. Everything was seemingly going okay until Honora decided to edit her own Wikipedia page in order to guarantee herself a win. From there, her life spiraled out of control in a series of terrible events. First, a freak accident involving a performer's blade breaking off of their skate and firing into the stands where she had been sitting and leaving her disfigured. This had been predicted on her Wikipedia page as well. Things became worse and worse, and eventually her Wikipedia page updated with, Honora Petrova is a pathetic little orphan. Her family dead and left with nothing, her life was eventually snuffed out when her Wikipedia page updated itself and pronounced her dead. It was never known who or what was behind those fatefully accurate updates on her Wikipedia page.
Maybe it was
Number
her.
3
Maybe it was
is
her
Candle
herself.
Cove. Back in the early
It sounds
1970s, there was a show known as Candle Cove, which featured creepy marionette puppets. User SkyShale003 created an online chat room room to discuss the show with others to see if they also recalled watching the low-budget television show, as it gave him terrible nightmares that he still lives with to this day. Surprisingly, he quickly found others who shared their own memories of Candle Cove, including Pirate Percy, the Skin Taker, and Horace the Horrible. The conversation quickly turned to the final episode of the show, where the members recalled the puppets bursting into horrific screams that left SkyShale003 and others in the forum crying in horror, who have also been living with the constant nightmares. One specific user, Mike Painter65, shocked that he wasn't alone, decided to consult his mother about why he was ever allowed to watch this show as a child. However, his mother was surprised that the man ever remembered Candle Cove, telling him that as a boy, he would sit in front of a static television screen of dead air for 30 minutes each day,
weird.
saying that he was watching his favorite pirate
That
show.
ain't right.
Number 4 is No End House. A young man named David Williams was up to a challenge. He was going to be given $500 if he could make it through a haunted house all
Bad
by
idea.
himself. But upon entering what was called the No End House and facing unspeakable
Well, look what happened to the Ghost Hunter producers that went into the baker's house. Look what happened to them.
horrors, he quickly regretted his decision. He was attacked by
I would
biting
too.
insects. He had to interact with terrifying apparitions and beasts, and he even had to witness the own murder of his parents. But through it all, David eventually makes it to what he believes to be the next to final room. Room 8. In this room, he finds an exact clone of himself seated in a chair with a knife nearby. On his clone's chest was the number 9. David is forced to essentially kill himself in order to escape. Although he gets his hands on the $500 exit prize, he eventually drives home only to realize that the number 10 is etched into his door. And all he can do is laugh as he realizes there truly is no end to No End House.
Number 5 is the Russian sleep experiment. Back in the 1940s,
That, I heard of
shortly
this one
after
before,
World
I
War
think,
II,
and it's a
Russian
bad
researchers
idea.
exposed 5 people to experimental gas with the intention of keeping them awake for 15 days.
And that's a bad
Locked away
idea,
with
a
no
complete bad
outside world
idea.
contact, the subjects simply went insane. When the time was up, the subjects were found in states of partial mutilation, flesh and muscle torn from their bodies with their own fingertips.
That was from the thumbnail,
One
wasn't
subject
it?
lay
That guy
dead,
right there.
used as a food source by the other 4, despite food rations having been provided. To this very day, nobody knows exactly what occurred during the experiments or what the intentions of the researchers were, but the results were undeniable.
Number 6 is Abandoned by Disney. A Disney theme park
this
known as
crazy
Treasure
one.
Island in Bakers Bay, Bahamas was abandoned by Disney. This was after a failed $30 million construction project, and it has since become known as a ghost town. One individual
That's a lot
foolishly
of money
ventured into the
wasted.
eerie, darkened park to explore. The chilling experience took a turn for the worse when he entered the mascots-only area. Inside, he discovered a number of Disney costumes, but there was one costume, a Mickey Mouse costume, that was laid out in a way that was a little bit more sinister than the others. The costume appeared itself to be a murder victim. As the man attempted to take a photo, the Mickey Mouse costume sprung to life. "Want to see my head come off?" the costume asked, and without waiting for an answer, the costume began to tear at its own head and neck.
That's just
Thick,
freaking-
chunky yellow blood spilled
That's just
everywhere,
freaking-
and the man
that's
turned
just
and
messed
ran
up.
out, noting that above the door to the mascots-only area was written "Abandoned by God." He never went back, and it's unknown
Hold on
if
a
the Mickey
second.
Mouse costume is still there.
7 is my dead
Interrupters,
girlfriend
I don't
keeps
like 'em.
messaging me. A young man named Nathan was having a hard time coping with the passing of his girlfriend Emily, unable to come to terms with deleting her off of his Facebook. One day, he received a hello from her in the form of a Facebook message. Originally, thinking her account was hacked, he disregarded it. That was until a barrage of nonsensical messages followed, as well as her tagging herself in pictures that she was not visible in. Nathan realized that the messages he was receiving were simply recycled portions of previous chats that the couple had had in the past, which wasn't a reason for alarm. That was until a message with the word freezing came through. That was, in fact, the last message that Emily had ever sent Nathan while she was still alive, and only he knew of it. Distraught, Nathan understandably went to seek help, but before leaving his computer, got a final notification of being tagged in a picture with Emily. It was of him, in his room, at his computer, posting the story online.
Number 8 is The
That ain't
Expressionless.
right.
In June of 1972, a woman arrived at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in nothing but a white gown covered in blood. The woman was different from your typical patient. She inspired terror in anyone who witnessed her. The woman appeared as if though she were a living mannequin and had a bloodied kitten clamped within her mouth. She spit it out on the floor before collapsing and remained motionless as she was transported to the emergency room. When doctors arrived, she smiled and revealed sharp, jagged teeth. A doctor nervously asked, "What are you?" The woman with inhuman speed bit out the doctor's jugular and then whispered, "I am God." She feasted
You
on the
ain't
security
God, you're a
guards who entered
demon.
the room to stop her before she escaped the hospital. And she has never
And God would only
been
come
seen
down for
since.
a very
Number 9
special
is
reason,
Mr. Widemouth.
and probably only
Sick with a
keep
case of
and
mono,
probably
a
keep it
5-year-old
secret.
boy developed an imaginary
anybody.
friend with a wide-mouthed grin to help him cope with his illness. The
And stuff.
bored and lonely child enjoyed the company of Mr. Widemouth, who soon came up with a game to play,
His imaginary
leaping
friend.
for the second story of his home. Mr. Widemouth continued to try to get the young boy to do other extremely dangerous things.
Your own
including
imagination
juggle
trying to kill you.
knives. Luckily,
Crazy.
despite all of Mr. Widemouth's suggestions, the boy continued to refuse. One of the strangest refusals that the boy recalls is an instance in which Mr. Widemouth suggested that the boy follow him down a trail, which he also refused. Years later, that boy became a young man and decided to travel down that very path, only to realize that it led to a graveyard filled with many children's tombstones.
And number 10 is Smile Dog. In
I
2007,
think I heard
an
of this
amateur
one
writer paid a
before.
visit to a woman named Mary E. in Chicago because she claimed to have a story that she wanted to share with him that
Who?
he might have wanted to write about. When he arrived at her home, he found her locked up in her bedroom where she was crying profusely and ranting about nightmares and visions. All of this was centered around an image she had viewed called smile.jpg. It was said that viewing this image, which consisted of a smiling dog, would incite insanity upon anyone who viewed it. The smiling dog would invade their dreams and demand that they share the image, or else they would certainly die. Mary
I
E.
bet all
intended to
victims would
share
hate
the
that.
image with the writer in order to save herself from certain death, but eventually she changed her mind. Soon after, Mary E. took her own life, unable to cope with the endless assaults from the smiling dog. Nearly a year later, the author was sent an email with an attachment. It was the smile.jpg image, and his curiosity was too much to bear. The author foolishly opened the image and looked upon it. To save himself, the author posted this story online for anyone unfortunate enough to come across it. You're welcome.
Wow.
And that's it. Thank you so much to my good friend Rob Dyke, who's
Yeah,
behind
thank
me,
you very much.
for helping me with this extra creepy
All right.
episode. Be sure to
Bye-bye.
subscribe to him. A link to his channel will
Well, I really want to make this quick because, you know, I had to make this a second try because, well, I hope that this will work because the last one just had a whole bunch of static in it. And hopefully this one didn't. So that's going to be it for the day, you guys. And if you really want to see more, then please like, subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. Love ya. Gary Gamer, chomping out. Goodbye.